Okay, this is building a screen to sift the peat moss because all of the parts need to be fine so that they'll blend real well. So there's a piece of hardware cloth, some scrap lumber, and I'm going to put that together to run all the peat moss through. Okay, here's the constituent parts for our mix. We have perlite, vermiculite. This is Rhizogen fertilizer. It's OMRI listed. It's composted chicken manure. It also has beneficial bacteria and fungus. Some worm castings. And then in the tractor bucket, we have some of our natural compost, and Ron is going to get peat moss. So we'll give you the exact ratios here in just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to start with the peat moss. And what we're going to do is put it in the screen and screen it out so it doesn't have any clumps in it. So there you go. You can see the dirt, the leaves and sticks and all stay in the screen. Okay, so it's sifted. We need 3 5-gallon buckets of peat moss. And what we're using is a compost tumbler donated by Frederick Ann. Thank you, Ann. And we're going to fill this, put this mix in here, make it up in here, and then we'll tumble it to get it real good and mixed in and blended. So we're about to put the first part in, and that's peat moss. And right now he's just emptying all the junk out of there. Okay, peat moss in. Step 2.
And then we need perlite and vermiculite.
Perlite and vermiculite.
1.5 buckets of each.
Okay, 1.5 5-gallon buckets of each. Okay, and that is the vermiculite.
And this is not plastic. This is actually a mineral.
It's not plastic, it's a mineral. It's also what they use to put in really bad popcorn ceilings.
Okay, this is 1 cup of 444 fertilizer. This is the Rhizogen fertilizer. It's got humates and it's got beneficial microbes and microchloride fungus, which are both beneficial for the soil. They grow mutualistically with the roots of the plants. And this is important to have in the mix on 1 cup. And then we need half a cup of kelp meal.
Half a cup of kelp meal.
Half a cup of kelp meal. Kelp meal has got micronutrients coming from the ocean. It's got tiny little bits of all kinds of different micronutrients that are good for the plants. Half a cup of that. It's green, go figure. And then half a cup of calcium or lime. That's everything.
Okay. So we have 3 buckets of peat moss, a bucket and a half of vermiculite, a bucket and a half of perlite, a
bucket and a half of worm castings or compost.
Bucket and a half of worm castings or compost.
Half a cup of calcium.
Half a cup of calcium.
Half a cup of kelp meal.
Half a cup of kelp meal.
And 1 cup of 444 Rhizogen.
And 1 cup of 444 Rhizogen. So now we're gonna put the lid on. Oops, sorry. And give it a spin. Okay, and what this is doing is it's incorporating all those things. You don't want chunks or pockets of one thing or another.